Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Productions channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. Today I am here, well, to review Sadistic Nightmares, the long overdue follow-up album from German gutter speedsters Intöxicated, which of course their debut album right here, Rock and Roll Hell Patrol, just reached its 10th anniversary just last week. But for this album, Sadistic Nightmares, this was released on May 5th via the MDD Records label. So, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so, now, before I get into giving my thoughts on Sadistic Nightmares, you know what I have to do. I have to do a track list rundown so I can tell you folks what are the songs that are on this album, how many tracks that are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. Since this album consists a total of 8 tracks, it clocks in at the length of 30 minutes and 29 seconds. Basically 2 minutes shorter than their 2013 debut album, which I had just showed you guys. So, these 8 tracks are beginning with Street Metal Bastards, Merciless, Bad Habits, Sold Our Souls, Sadistic Night, which I guess technically can be the title track, Violation, Sex, Violence, and Death, and then finally ending with Howling with the Wolves. So there you go, folks. There's your 8 tracks. You know what that sound is, folks? That is the sound of my notes slapping and flopping against the microphone. Yeah! Back in 2013 at NastyMetalProductions Records, once the home location for Tower Records here in Fresno, and now known as Mad Monk. Because the old building that was home for both Tower Records and NastyMetalProductions basically got turned into a kind of an auto parts kind of shop, you know. But it got moved to a much bigger location, which is like just right next door. Anyways, I had stumbled upon their debut album, Rock and Roll Hell Patrol, which had been 5 months old. So it felt kind of cool that I bought a band's debut release, you know, on the same year. I pretty much ate it up. Just to sum it up, there's their sound, okay? I'm going to sum up the sound of Intöxicated. Well, they were like a more punkier / rock and roll version of Baphomet's Blood from Italy, but with themes about sex, drugs, and rock and roll instead of just straight Satanism worship, you know? So much more really here in the Motorhead camp than really the Venom camp that Baphomet's Blood are firmly placed in. Even though Baphomet's Blood always kind of had that, or still has that sort of Motorhead vibe to them, but because of the sort of Satanism aspects and everything, it kind of puts them in the Venom camp. However, things just went silent for this band for me, and I don't know what was the whole issue. So for years of just waiting for a follow-up, it came as a surprise of when I found out that Intöxicated returned here in 2023 with Sadistic Nightmares. And of course no longer signed to the Hell's Headbangers label and are instead again signed to the MDD Records label, and also with a slightly different lineup here. So, besides that, what's different here? Well, same attitude, but maybe slightly more mature here than previous. What I notice here is that the musicianship is also more tighter and not as much songs, about sleazy sex, but instead more themes surrounding old classic horror movie monsters and such, just horror movies and everything, just themes around that. Still, there are some songs about the same rock and roll attitude that you heard on the previous album, their debut. Also, even the recording department is improved. Still has that raw bite to it, but a little more refined, which I find to be a plus. As for the new members here, singer Mariano, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, has that same Lemmy-like delivery that the original guy Louis had, but maybe more loud and in your face than compared to Louis, but it's still kind of the same delivery to that extent. It's still in the same direction and preference. It's just a great fit here. Again, I mean, he's just a great fit, and just fits the attitude and the sound of what Intöxicated are going for. So, as for the songs themselves, the standouts to me are the opener Street Metal Bastards, which grips you from the beginning and gives you a great look at how things have changed. Bad Habits, which is a catchy rocker in that classic Motorhead vein, and then there's Sold Our Souls, a fun barn burner, also kind of in that same Motorhead vein, or vein. Can't speak today, probably because I just woke up and took a shower. But overall, this is a greatly enjoyable album, and was it worth the 10-year wait though? You know what? That doesn't matter. At least we got a follow-up, and a fun follow-up at that. So, there you go, folks. There's my overall thoughts on Sadistic Nightmares, the long overdue follow-up album from, well, Intöxicated. And so, what is my rating for Sadistic Nightmares? Well, I am giving it a 8.20 out of 10. Which is, again, a pretty solid rating to begin with. And again, it just means I thoroughly enjoyed this to begin with. And I was just happy to see another album from these guys, since I was waiting for a follow-up from Intöxicated for basically 10 years now. So it's been 10 years, and 10 years since their debut album. So happy 10th anniversary to, well, Rock Roll Hell Patrol. And congratulations on this band finally releasing a follow-up album. So, if you're one of those who were at one point might have been following the Hell's Headbangers label and maybe at one point ran into this album and pretty much are just familiar with Intöxicated's debut album and were kind of wondering what the hell happened to this band and are just like me surprised that they released a follow-up album, 10 years later. Well, if you got a chance to listen to this album and you've listened to it, if you have any thoughts, you can leave them in the comment section below, even if they are positive or negative. But if you, again, still are just like me and are kind of curious on how their follow-up album was going to sound, or, or if they kept up the same styling as whatever, and, or again, just really surprised that they came back with the new album, and again, just haven't had the time to listen to it. Again, you're not going to be disappointed. It's Intöxicated, and it's the same Intöxicated, just maybe a little more, mature in the musicianship department, and even at times the lyrical department. Again, you will not be disappointed. So with that, this is Sever Thrash saying I am out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone. And of course, you can find this album on YouTube because I can't find it on Bandcamp. Alright, take care.